Dricus du Plessis ungoofied his style. The ungoofication of Dricus du Plessis and his style is a transformation I haven't seen well documented. It still amazes me that someone who at one point looked constantly gassed in all his fights, looked sloppy in his technique, and never looked like he could beat the people he beat has become UFC champion, is going to defend against one of the greatest middleweights to ever do it, and to many people will give Adesanya a challenge as shown through the odds. DDP with wins over former champions Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland also makes his resume insanely elite for the middleweight division, and I still can't believe a guy that looked like this or looked like that, was routinely called the goofiest and sloppiest fighter on the roster, is now a real threat for one of the greatest middleweights of all time. So in today's video, let's discover how Dricus du Plessis ungoofied his style, completely changed his image, and gained the respect of UFC fans alike. See, once UFC fans give you a title or an image, it's extremely hard to shake off. One such image that can't seem to be shaken off is the boring label given to one Belal Muhammad, who shocked the world recently in an actually very exciting fight in my opinion. But for the longest time, many people couldn't remember the name. The boring label casual fans have given Islam Makhachev is extremely undeserving, and still doesn't make sense to me when the guy has finished 7 of his last 8 fights and mixes the martial arts better than anyone right now. And for a very long time, Dricus du Plessis was seen as the goofiest fighter on the roster and someone who would never reach the pinnacle of the sport, and for good reason. Dricus made quick work of his first 2 opponents, first knocking out Marcus Perez with a giant left hook on the temple, and then followed this up with knocking out Trevin Giles in his second fight with another equally giant right hand. But where we would really see Dricus's goofy style and decision making was his fight with his first ranked opponent, Brad Tavares. He practically opened this fight up by literally walking forward and throwing straight punches like a zombie, which ultimately led him to being caught early with a Tavares right and forced him to clinch. And in a wild, unprecedented move, Dricus decides to not pull guard, but instead pull his opponent into top control, which was frankly a 4D level chess move. This fight would eventually get back to the feet, but already in the first, the guy was exhausted and again walked forward to get rocked by a Tavares right hand. But despite this horrendous first round, Dricus would go apeshit and continuously rock Tavares with heavy hands, ultimately pulling away in the last 2 rounds, winning this through unanimous decision. Someone said online Dricus fights like a gorilla on skates, and after reading that, you literally cannot unsee it. And we could possibly see the gorilla back on skates this Saturday for UFC 305. UFC 305 is this weekend. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. DraftKings is giving new customers a shot to get in on the action all night long. New customers who bet $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TJLovesFights. The crown is yours. Again, new customers can bet just $5 on anything and receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you can join in on all the fun and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Again, new customers use my promo code TJLovesFights and bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code TJLovesFights only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Where Dricus really got his name out there was when he fought Darren Till, who was continuing to fall and was at the tail end of his career. You could immediately tell that this was the tail end of his career as he got taken down by Dricus du Plessis in the opening seconds of this fight and literally did not land anything, while Dricus consistently landed uncontested bombs. But for a brief moment, Dricus's legs would lose control of Darren Till's body and allow Darren to get up and this time be the one landing strikes from the top. Though this was short-lived, as Dricus brought this fight back down to the ground on his terms in the last seconds of this first. But all that destruction from Dricus in the first almost completely cast him for the second, as he was breathing mouth wide open and slowed the pace down tremendously and could not beat the gorilla on skates allegations. This allowed Darren Till, the actual gorilla, to take full advantage and land clean elbows and strikes all throughout the second. But credit to Dricus, he may have not had good cardio here, but he did have tremendous heart, as he still found the will to take down Till a couple times. And of course, speaking of labored takedowns, Dricus du Plessis would get a big one in the third, take Till's back, and crank the shit out of his face until he tapped. Then we would get another classic goofy performance by Dricus du Plessis when he took, at the time, the ranked number 5 contender, Derek Brunson. Almost immediately, Dricus got his kick caught by Derek Brunson, who used it to take this fight to the ground, where admittedly, he was outclassed by Brunson's grappling. First, Brunson brought this fight back down as Dricus tried to get up from his knees, and then again Brunson pulled this fight back down by pulling guard with a guillotine. Though credit to Dricus, he got out and started landing elbows in guard. But when this fight got back up to the feet, it was again Brunson outclassing Dricus, this time with the boxing, as Dricus routinely got rocked, leaving his chin high up in the air, wide open, trying to get one back of his own. This round would obviously leave Dricus exhausted, a gorilla on skates in the second, but though the cardio was gone, the power never left as he caught Brunson with giant straight punches, eventually landing big with a left that brought Brunson to the cage, melting him to the floor and beating his ass on the ground until Brunson's corner was forced to throw in the towel. Despite looking terrible in these fights at times, making goofy decisions, not controlling the gas tank, the guy was winning and moving up the rankings, and whether he looked like championship material or not, by this time, his constant winning would earn him a title eliminator shot with a former champion in middleweight royalty, Robert Whittaker. And I still remember the reaction by UFC fans when this fight was announced. In one corner, you had the former champion gunning for his belt back, one of the most well-rounded and skilled fighters in this division, against, to be quite frank, a bumbling buffoon that always looked like he was going to gas out and lose before somehow pulling out a win. It was supposed to be easy work for Robert Whittaker, who was destined to get his belt back and fight Izzy a third time, and this was reflected in the odds leading up to this fight, who was a gigantic -375 favorite going into this fight. But there's one thing different about this Dricus du Plessis: his nose. There's one thing I didn't mention when talking about Dricus, and that was his messed up nose. According to his coach, DDP was fighting at just 8% oxygen intake, which is so goofy in and of itself. Granted, his coach did say he was supposed to have this nose surgery 3 years prior, but since they couldn't get it, they continued to take every opportunity the UFC gave them, which is respectable, but still doesn't take away from the insanity of performing extremely suboptimal as a professional athlete. What's even more insane is that Dricus in his corner knows he's at an insane disadvantage cardio-wise and still chose to fight like a brawler and conserve nothing in opening rounds. To willingly gas out an already small gas tank is one of the goofiest decisions from a fighter, but I can't say anything because it worked, to the point that they were fighting the former champion and legend in Robert Whittaker. So who am I to judge? Going into this fight, Dricus du Plessis was not only different physically, but also stylistically as well. It's ironic that now Dricus had a bigger gas tank and he came into this fight much more conservatively with Robert Whittaker, really picking his shots and really choosing when to let go. This slower approach, however, led to Rob picking his shots also very well and moving in and out, and for the most part doing what we expected Rob to do, and even mixed in a takedown in this exchange. But in the final moments of this round, Dricus got a huge momentum shifting takedown and was able to cut Robert Whittaker with a nasty elbow. And in a big surprise, Dricus du Plessis in the second round would land a crushing jab from the southpaw stance, rocking Robert Whittaker, which led to him backing up to the cage and getting melted with punches. And this moment right here ended all the goofy allegations and ended the clowning once and for all. Dricus du Plessis showed his skill, his patience, and his fight IQ, as it was also revealed that him and his coach game planned specifically with this approach against Robert Whittaker by being in the southpaw position, as Robert Whittaker had apparently been susceptible to the right in the southpaw stance, and it worked like a T. The once goofiest fighter who was gassed out all the time and made goofy decisions in the heat of the moment came out with an amazing win over a former champion and showed poise, great pace, and great game plan and fight IQ. And of course, this performance would lead to a title shot against Sean Strickland, who too was coming off a legendary upset. And we'd finally see Dricus du Plessis in a 5-round fight and really, truly see his skill and cardio put to the test. And well, he would deliver. Sure, everyone talks about how close this fight was and how it could have gone either way, with some saying they robbed Sean Strickland out of a win, but whatever the case might be, Dricus du Plessis showed that he was championship material. He absorbed a lot of jabs from Sean in the beginning, but where Dricus really found his success was in the takedowns. Look at this first one in the first round. Despite Sean getting to the fence early and getting wide, Dricus du Plessis literally pulls Sean's ass from the fence and takes him down with pure strength. And from here, it was just takedown city, as he practically landed a takedown every round and even landed some giant right hands that cut open Sean in the third and especially hurt him in the fourth. Again, whether you had Sean or Dricus in this fight, it was amazingly close, and it showed that Dricus' strength, power, and especially cardio could hold up in a 5-round fight for all the marbles. And sure, he had some goofy moments in there, at times going back to his roots of putting his head down, flailing like a gorilla over the top to try to catch Sean, but for the most part, he was poised, exploding well. Also, I've never seen anyone do this to Sean, and really, I don't think we've seen a middleweight get their takedown defense really tested like that. Which got me thinking, how much more does Dricus du Plessis look for the takedown than other middleweights? And the answer is way more. Dricus du Plessis averages 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is basically triple everyone else in the top 10, which is exciting for this division that has almost only seen strikers, and I think Dricus is a great addition, able to mix his power, explosiveness, and takedowns in a very fun and sometimes stupid style to watch. Everyone points to Dricus du Plessis' nose getting fixed to his transformation from goofy to great, and yeah, that definitely helped a lot as we don't see him breathing heavy and gassing out coming out to the second round anymore. But as I went through these fights, stylistically is where he changed dramatically. He's always been an insane athlete in the division and the entire UFC period, but it seems he's honed his skills through patience, waiting for his opportunity to explode, and managing his gas tank well. Again, we don't typically see drastic stylistic change-ups. Most guys fight the way they fight until they literally cannot anymore, but sometimes the greats evolve, and Dricus du Plessis has certainly evolved. Anyways, what do you guys think about this matchup tomorrow at UFC 305? Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. It's a very stylistically interesting fight, and I really think it's going to be a good one. So, again, thank you guys for watching. Peace.